The Midwest was formed by explorers, those who were willing to risk everything to see a better future. While our lands are still rich with agriculture, we are more than just flyover country. Our former cow towns are now business hubs and technology innovators. On this show, we tell the stories of folks marketing in the middle. This is the Midwest Marketing Show. Welcome back to the Midwest Marketing Show. I'm Jeff Julian, the host. Today's show, we have Joe Pulizzi on from the Content Marketing Institute. He's also the Godfather of Content Marketing. He has several podcasts, books, and tons of content available. And so we're excited to let you listen into the show and watch it if you're watching the video. But before we get started, I want to talk about two new changes we've made. One is the location. We've launched the Idea Loft, and the whole point behind this space is to be able to produce more content, more podcasts, more videos, open a podcast network, and do training and allow for more classes to take place so we can provide as much value as we can to the world of marketing, whether that's content strategy, content marketing, or content management. So if you're interested in learning more about the Idea Loft, shoot me an email, and I'd love to let you know more about what we're doing. So the other thing that happened a little bit differently on this show is we're going to start integrating segments into the show. I want to get more into this idea of it being a larger show than just the podcast. And so beyond the interview with Joe, we're going to have a segment from Jessica Best where she talks about the anatomy of an email. And so if you're interested in doing some segments, let me know, shoot me an email, and I'd love to get you in and see if we can record here or record from where you're at. All we're looking for is 4 to 5 minute chunks of some form of value. So if you don't have your own videos, you don't have your own podcast, but you want to contribute, let me know, and we'd love to integrate you into the show. And so without further ado, here's Joe Pulizzi. Well, thanks for joining us again on the Midwest Marketing Show. Today I have Joe Pulizzi with me, and I'm so excited. The Godfather of Content Marketing. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you hanging in there?
Oh, I'm doing great. We just moved into this new office, and so it's been a little chaotic hooking all the cables back together, so you probably understand that.
Oh, yeah, except, I'm working here out of my little home office dungeon here, so it's a lot easier for me than it is for you, most likely.
Oh, I love that. I love the wood paneling in the background. It's pretty cool.
This used to be like an old bunker that the original family used to live in. This house was big into ham radios. We had satellites all over the backyard and whatever, and I don't know, whatever was going on. So if there's a war, I'm going into this office. I'll be well protected at least for a few minutes. So.
Nice. Yeah. It sounds like the guy who built our house owned a concrete company, so the entire house is encased in concrete. So same thing. God. Yeah. We'll just call each other back up with our ham radios.
I'm sure it was built in the 50s like mine was. It's just that's the year that they did this kind of stuff. So.
Exactly. So to kind of get started, I think everybody knows who you are, but just in case they don't, how did you get started in marketing?
I actually started in publishing. So outside of after I graduated, I had a master's degree from Penn State, couldn't find a job, overeducated, underemployed. Finally got a job in internal communications for an insurance company, and then I just lucked in. I was totally blessed to get a job at a company called Pent Media, large business-to-business publisher, and I worked in the custom media department. So we did content marketing projects for our advertisers at the time, and did that, then basically took over the department and was in the content marketing business starting in 2000. And it was great being able to talk to chief marketing officers, marketing directors, figure out what they thought about owned media, the difference between that, integrating that into an overall marketing program. And that's when I caught the bug and really said, hey, this thing is going to be big. Yeah. I don't know when. Hopefully sooner than later, and luckily it was sooner. But yeah, I think that's really helped me understand that content marketing is really all about the art and science of publishing, and it takes patience, and it takes focus on a target audience, and it takes servant leadership, and that's where I think a lot of marketers go wrong, because they focus on the campaign, and they want quick hits, and they want to know what viral is, and I don't believe in any of that stuff.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, I'm getting ready to write an article about how I got my start in content marketing, and same thing. It's like you fall into this rhythm and you know it works, but then you look around and no one else is doing it. And it's like, why aren't you guys doing this? This is what works.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy to me And even the articles. There's an article this morning that I had to comment on. It was from Australia that talked about, content marketing's not going to work because it takes a long time and it takes consistency. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
but but so you just need to be patient and you need to focus and you need to have passion. And yeah, if you're looking for the short, quick hit, go do something else.
Yeah.
Go do advertising. Go do direct marketing with an offer and a coupon. I mean, so there's lots of other ways to market. But if you want an asset, if you want to build a loyal audience, this is the way you got to do it.
Exactly. It's like saying the marathon's not possible because you're not willing to put in the work.
It isn't crazy. It's like we just forgot. But I get it, right? It's this whole campaign mentality that we've grown up in for the past 50 years. Targeted mass media has ruined most of us forever when it
Yep.
comes to marketing. And we realize, there's a better way to go. Yeah, it takes time, but there is a better way.
Yeah, and we're so stuck on hours and quick turnaround and everybody in their own silos. And you get into these teams and you start to massage them to make them work in content, and immediately you see that light bulb turn on, and you're like, oh, my work here is done.
Well, the quarterly report has hurt, I think, humanity
Yeah.
in a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of ways because it's are we hitting those quarterly figures? Are we, what do we need to do? How do we turn it up a notch? You've got accountants and CFOs, nothing against them, by the way, but accountants and CFOs are running a lot of marketing organizations because they're saying we need to do this, we need to do that. And when you get the bean counters in there, and they're a necessity,
Yep.
but when you get them talking about your communications with your customers, a lot of things can go wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we could talk for hours, I'm sure. But I know you have another meeting to get to. So, one of the things that I love about CMI and the way you've built your organization, and I definitely want to tailor this around the new book, is you don't have a central office. I was following Mo and talking with her quite a bit, and then she goes off to this beautiful paradise, and I see Robert posting all these pictures, and you take them on these fantastic trips, and you just have all this interaction, and you have a passionate team. When I brought Kathy on the show and talked to her, she was just dead passionate about marketing and her role, and she knew where the buck stopped with her and where to hand it off, and it's just this beautiful kind of well-oiled machine. I'm sure it's got its own issues, but you've done an amazing job of being a visionary to cast that content mission, so kudos to that. But I'm sure, as many of us kind of are wondering, is what does Joe's day-to-day activities look like at CMI?
Well, first off, we're all faking it really, really well. So I'm glad to hear the disguise has worked.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we've got a fantastic team. We absolutely love them. I mean, I love the flexibility that we have. We are a virtual team. We have most of the people, half of the people here in Cleveland working out of their houses. And then we got people in Boston and New York and Detroit and LA. And so, yeah, it's just worked great. I think that flexibility is one of the things that draw people into the organization because we say, hey, like, as long as you get your job done, you work whenever you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And we have that. We don't have to see customers on it. We don't have a retail office. So that's a flexibility that we can do that a lot of people can't do. Now, my job, so like when we started in 2007, the we was not we, it was I.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything, chief cook and bottle washer, as they say. And then as we've grown, luckily, I'm the cheerleader. That's my job. I'm the cheerleader. I'm the thought leader. I'm the rainmaker, whatever you want to call it. That's my job. So I do things like this, and I enjoy it, by the way. I love doing podcast interviews, that kind of stuff. I do a lot of writing. I do a ton of our own podcasts. I do, and I do stuff on other sites as well. That is my role. How can we get content marketing, the art and science of it, to as many people as possible? So just today, this is my third interview of the day. It's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I've got 2 more interviews today. I've got a couple that I have to email interviews I have to do, and I have our own webinar, our own Content Marketing Institute webinar at 2:30 today. So that's my day, and that's great. And in the meantime, in the spare time that I don't, I'm working on some of the scripts for Content Marketing World, because the one thing that I do as part of my function is I do the agenda for Content Marketing World. I do most of the agendas for our big events, and that's my thing. So outside of just hopefully making it rain and getting content marketing out there and do a lot of speeches. It's different in the summer. Like if we were not talking in the summer here, I wouldn't be here. I would be somewhere else doing a speech somewhere.
Yeah.
But in the summer, I tend to be here doing interviews, podcasts, like that kind of stuff. So that's my job, and I had to give up a lot of control at that point where I said, look, okay, Joe doesn't schedule his own meetings. Joe, you've got a lot of, we're going to tell you what to do here, but it's all on, here's how you're going to set the vision. I do a lot of, we use LinkedIn as an internal communications tool. So I actually got to get one up today or tomorrow and say, here's an update. Here's how we're going. Here's how we're tracking. Rah, rah, everybody's along. Do we understand the mission? Here's what our goal is. Keep going out there and doing that stuff. It's probably great because I'm not the most detail-oriented person. I'm really good at setting a vision and getting everybody on track for that, and I enjoy doing that. I love being up in front of people. I'll talk in front of anybody who'll listen to me. As you can tell, I'll go on forever. If you don't stop me, I'm gonna go and go and go. And it's just, you have to have a great team to be able to do this. But the fact that we all know our role and we really do feel like we're all out to change this thing and called marketing.
Yeah.
For the better. We really do believe it. I remember we got together in St. Thomas. As you said, we had our team meeting. All the families were there. And we get out there, and I started out with, I really do believe that we are making an impact on the world, that it can be a better place. Because if we can help these brands who communicate terribly to communicate with value, that's something. That's something significant. We're not saving the world. We're not feeding the hungry.
Yeah.
We're not housing the poor or the homeless, but we are doing something that can make an impact on people's lives, and maybe people will act better because of it. So at least that's how we try to spin it.
You're enabling the people who are feeding the hungry, who are housing the poor.
Hopefully
to tell these stories, and
teach instead of sell.
Yeah.
You will sell more by teaching. We really do believe that.
So I'm sure that the driving factor was partially entrepreneurship for yourself, but what led you to kind of take the pivot from talking about content marketing all the time to kind of flip it to drive towards entrepreneurs and content, because of the audiences you can sell on sitting down and building an audience before a business. It seems like entrepreneurs are the most difficult because we just want to get in and sell and sell and sell.
The new book has nothing to do with making more money, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If we were going to go out as Content Marketing Institute and want to grow our revenues, we would continue, and we do, we would continue to target large brands with budgets that have complex content needs, and that's what we do at Content Marketing Institute. Selfishly, Content Inc. was a selfish endeavor by me. I thought we had a pretty compelling story at Content Marketing Institute to say, we launched this company, one of the fastest growing business media company in 2014. A really good story. Hardly spent less than $50,000 on advertising over that time. I'm like, I wonder how many other companies did that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, in good, true content marketing spirit, I said, I don't want to write the book about me. How boring would that be? Let's write it about the model. So we used Content Marketing Institute as sort of the first case study, and then went out and found dozens and dozens of other companies that I think found a better way to launch and grow a business.
Yeah.
By going content first, listening to the needs of the audience, building an audience over that time of opt-in subscribers, and then creating products and services to sell. We reverse engineered the model, found these 6 steps that I just think is fascinating. The whole thing fascinates me, that we actually found a predictable, repeatable model with all these entrepreneurs that built multi-million-dollar properties.
Yeah.
And so, I'm all amped up about it. We've got a little, we'll have some products and services around Content Inc. I mean, the podcast will probably be sponsored at some point. We've got a little event called Content Inc. as part of Content Marketing World on September 11th. That's all good.
I'll be there.
That'll be fun. It'll be fun. So there's little things. Are we making any money off of that stuff? We're not going to make any money off it. We'll probably break even if we're lucky. But I think it's important because these are the big businesses of the future. And if we can communicate and say, hey, there's a better way to do it, and you can maybe support your family and maybe not have to take money and maybe
Yeah.
live a better life.
Well,
Man, I think that's great.
I mean,
So,
there's totally a model there. Two things that I see is one, the smaller businesses are causing so much disruption for the larger businesses. They're going to need to look at the books that the smaller businesses are reading to see, well, why are they doing this? But at the same time, I mean, look at Dave Ramsey and his media empire on $10 books to poor people who are in crazy amounts of debt, and now he's got 200 employees, and it's just this. It's
it
all
is.
about the education, and that's why I'm excited. I'm excited to see that slight pivot, at least kind of a branch off for entrepreneurs, because when you are a smaller brand or just a small company and you're writing checks and you're writing content, it can be wearing. I mean, it's
And it's
definitely.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about it. So, I mean, I spoke to a group of entrepreneurs the other day. If I go in and I speak to 1,000 enterprise marketers, you absolutely can have impact.
Mm,
But if you speak to 10 entrepreneurs, they can make the decision right then to do something different. You can't do that in a large company. You have to go through all kinds of red tape, politics.
yeah.
You can make the decision, and that's what I love about it. Because when I get into nice heated discussions with an entrepreneur, all I have to say is, if you believe in this, and you have passion, and you want to do it, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And look at all these other examples of people that had no money and were poor and didn't have the resources, and they did this.
Oh yeah.
Now it's going to take time, but if you have the passion to battle through the hard times, you'll make this happen. And I love that you can immediately have impact on somebody's life in that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I started Geeks of Blogs, and Microsoft booted me off their blog community and deleted all my content. It was ridiculous.
Oh,
But it grew within 4 years to 4,000 bloggers, and we had all these visitors and 100,000 blog posts, and it was just this amazing piece of education for the world, and I absolutely loved being a part of that. And it wasn't like I felt like I owned it. It was like we made a movement happen. And I see that happen with all these small businesses where opportunities are there for them to make a movement that's beyond their brick and mortars, but still that trust and loyalty is brought back to them. It's amazing. I'm so excited for the book. I can't wait to read it.
thank you. Yeah, I hope it'll be fun doing the book tour and talking to. But to your point, I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of enterprise marketers because you could use the same model to build a
Oh yeah,
content brand inside. It's almost a skunkworks type operation in a large
exactly.
company. So
Well, I
but
mean,
we'll see.
yeah, anybody under 50 million revenue probably has a very slim marketing team. So if you're the solo marketer or the entrepreneur, that book is written for you because you have to put on the entrepreneur hat when you're the only guy in the shop.
Well, and you got to have that. The books. It's amazing what a book can do as uh, buy-in
Hmm.
for an organization because that's what it's funny. Epic Content Marketing, my last book. I think that's how it's used more than anything else because if you got the content champion in the organization, they take that book and said, "Look, CEO, CMO, just read this.
Yeah,
Would you? This is what we're trying to do. It takes time, and if you can get them to read it, that's exactly why we created the documentary. There's a documentary on content marketing that
yeah,
we're going to show at Content Marketing World. That's all about buy-in.
yeah,
It's all about giving people ground cover so that they could do their jobs. And that's the Chief Content Officer magazine. That's the same thing. It's
yeah.
the same. We just keep saying, hey, look, it's going to work. You've got to invest in it. You've got to be behind it. This is a culture change, and we're all in this together. But it's not easy by any means.
No, not at all. I do a lot of agile marketing coaching. And so we'll have, like last week, I had a whole team of like 30 marketers in the room, and it was rah, ready to go. And then it was, now we got to sell it. And it's like, this is the fun
Uh-huh.
part. Yeah.
That is the hard. That was the first content marketing world. You had 600 people come. Everybody's jazzed up. They go back and they hit a brick wall going back into the organization. I said, we've got to deal with this problem right now.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Jessica Best, and I'm here with your email marketing minute for the day. Today, we're going to take a look at the anatomy of an email. There are 5 basic pieces to an email. First, the pre-header. Next, the header. That one you're familiar with, right? It's got the logo in it. It's usually an image. It usually stretches the width of the email. The body of the email, that's all your good stuff, including images and text. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the footer at the bottom, and we'll come back to that as well. So did you know you needed a pre-header? You might have seen this in some of the emails that you've actually received, but there are 3 good pieces to a good pre-header. The first one's the one that most people don't get right. And that's what I call a second subject line. It's going to be an extension of the actual subject line, because in the inbox, most inboxes now pull in some bit of text from the body of the email. That second subject line can build on your subject line, especially on mobile devices when you're short on space. Next up, of course, you want to have a, if you can't see this email, click here to view it as a web page link. And then the last one is one that we also see less of these days, but still important. This is a whitelist request. This is, if you want to always get my emails in your inbox, add me to your contacts list or your safe senders list. All that text is usually small font right above the first graphic in the email. If you start your email with the header, that pre-header goes away, and what shows up as the snippet in the inbox is sometimes even that gobbledygook or nothing. So make sure you've got your pre-header, make sure you've got a header. On a mobile device, the header changes up a little bit. Most mobile designs are going to take that header and either resize it so that the 100% width comes all the way in, or you can chop your header, stack it into 2 pieces, or just trim it so that it fits nicely on a closer to 300 pixel wide screen. Next up is the good stuff. This is the body of your email. You may have columns. You may have one main section and 3 columns to support it below. The biggest piece of information you need to know about the body of your email is that it's got to be a good blend of images and text. The image portion of your email is where most people spend their time designing, but the text is important for 2 reasons. One, up to 33% of your audience is going to have images turned off by default, and that includes Outlook and Android devices. So if you see nothing in your email with that images turned off, you have no call to action, you have no reason to click. Instead, make sure that you've got at least 500 characters of text in your email. The other thing that does for you is it gives spam filters a little of something to read, to sniff. In that case, you're trying to put non-spammy words in the text so that your email comes off as something of value to the person who's receiving it. Last but not least, we got to talk a little bit about the law here. The footer is where you're going to put the key pieces of canned spam required content. The first is going to be a mailing address. As of 2008, that can be a P.O. box if you'd like. And then, of course, an unsubscribe link. The good news there is, if you've got an email platform that you're building all of this in, some of this is going to be done for you. The unsubscribe link is going to be automatically managed. The address should be built in so you can't accidentally leave it out. And the pre-header should be an opportunity for you to edit what's preloaded there. If you see that pre-header and you've got a view as a web page link and a whitelist request, you want to make sure you're adding that second subject line, and that's going to change with every email. So that's it, your pre-header, your header, the images and text in the body of your email, and the footer. Make sure you've got all 5 pieces to make sure your email's headed for success.
So I come from a line of entrepreneurs, grandfather, father, great-grandfather, all the way back to the 1600s when to get a land buy, he flip sides from France to England to trade secrets and then get some land so he could go start a farm.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, so I think, and I'm getting ready to write either a series of posts on this or a book of all the entrepreneurs in my life, but it's amazing because they're all unique. No one's worked for the other one besides like during the high school years. After that, it's like our own vision, our own set of companies. And so I see the entrepreneurs struggle consistently at every, holiday party on Facebook. Everyone owns their own business in my family. And so whenever I start to do the pitch, because, it's the pitch, I know this works. I always struggle with those tips on getting them started. So I plan to buy a couple 100 copies and just pass them out to everybody I know.
Well, you're my new best friend.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, it's like Gary Vaynerchuk in The Hustle, right? Just jab me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. That's a great background story. I mean, of course, same thing. My grandfather, my uncle, my mom and dad, all entrepreneurs. It's just, we all go all in different businesses, to your point. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we have a section called the 3s where we ask for 3 tips or 3 pieces of advice. And so what are 3 tips you would give an entrepreneur who is small business, less than 49? And I hate that number. It's more like 10. The small business who's struggling to get started, they might not have anything in marketing, and they're looking at content marketing as an option.
It's interesting. As we were doing the interviews for the documentary, one of them was with Marcus Sheridan, which I'm sure you know. Marcus, CEO of River Pools and Spas, now super rock star god out there talking about sales and content marketing. He said the biggest, his aha moment was that instead of selling fiberglass pools, he said, we are going to become the leading teacher in the world on fiberglass pools, number one. And oh, by the way, we sell and install them.
Yeah,
And he
exactly.
said that was the key. You know, that's a very simple and complex thing that if you can get your arms around, if you can define yourself by the problems you're solving. So that's, get to your answer. I would say focus on an area where you can be the leading informational expert in the world on something that relates to your business, of course.
Yeah.
But if you can do that and you can be a problem solver, build an audience around that in some way, you can really end up selling whatever you want. Now, back to the Marcus story. Did Marcus know for sure? Did he have a plan on how he was going to manufacture fiberglass pools?
Yeah,
No.
absolutely
What?
not.
How'd they get into the manufacturing business? Because he became a worldwide brand, the worldwide expert on fiberglass pools. And he says, oh, well, we've only got this little small area in Virginia and Maryland that we can service. What do we do now with all this notoriety? Manufacturing was what they said was that new revenue stream that they came up with. So I think that's so the first thing is identify that area that you can be the leading expert in the world. Get really small, really super niche, as small as you can. And the smaller you can get, the more relevant you can get, and probably can actually, because you can't just say, hey, I want to be the leading expert in pet supplies.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
How many?
Take on
What's
Petco, take on
yeah,
PetSmart.
what's your competition there? PetSmart, Petco spending billions of dollars in that area. Good luck doing that. But could you find a niche in that? Absolutely. They can't cover the niches.
Yeah.
You can cover a niche better than anyone else. The second thing is, this is what we learned from our Content Inc. deep dive in some of these interviews. Focus on one content type and one key platform over time. So I had my 2, 3, and 4 in together for you. So what's your content type? Is it textual? Is it audio? Is it video?
Yeah.
So we found that the entrepreneurs, small businesses, they focus on one really well. Not that they use all of them.
Yeah.
But they focus on doing one really well. That's an iTunes series, podcast series. It's a regular video series. It's a regular blog, whatever. So figure out what makes the most sense for your story, for your niche area, and then find the consistently over what platform. Is it your own blog or website? Is it iTunes? Is it YouTube? Whatever, that you can build an opt-in audience around. That's it. I mean, it's not a complicated formula.
Yeah.
It's actually
repeat.
the simplest, almost the simplest of formulas that you'll find in marketing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of people don't believe that it can be successful, because it's too simple.
Yeah.
And we want to throw all this technology and make it really complicated. But really, all we're talking about is the same thing that we've been doing for hundreds of years in publishing. And how do you build a loyal audience over time? And that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that if you have, the average, it takes over 12 months to do this in most cases.
Yeah.
It takes time to build a loyal audience. But that would be my hope for anybody listening to this, to do that 3 thing. Focus on the niche, pick the content type, pick the content platform, and the whole idea around that is to build your own audience. If you build a loyal audience, you can realistically sell them whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like Brian Clark has done at Copy Blogger, has done a great job, but that Rand Fishkin's done that at Moz the same way. Matthew Patrick's done it at Game Theory, but they've all done it different ways.
Yeah.
But they've all built that audience.
Yeah. And you see them now, like especially Pro Blogger and the way he was consistently blogging, and he had digital photography school and all that stuff, but through his blogging, he now incorporates podcasts, but it's like it's his blogs moved into another content type, but that was 10 years before he took that pivot, and he knew about podcasting, but it just wasn't his niche.
Time.
Yeah, it wasn't his
time. That's the thing too. That's the 5th step, is diversification.
Yeah.
So, step 1, find your sweet spot.
Bonuses, yeah.
Step 2 is what's your content tilt, as we call it? What's your differentiation point? 3, building the base.
Yeah.
Building the base of content so that you can then harvest the audience. That's step 4. And building the base takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
We were there for 3 years. You said Pro Blogger was there for years and years. Brian Clark was there for at least 19 months without even a revenue model. Yeah. He was just blogging. And then you get into step 5. That's diversification. That's like we did. Launch the magazine, launch the podcast, launch the event. But you have to build your minimum viable audience first.
Yep.
And that takes time to do that.
Yeah, I love it. So as we wrap up, because I know you got to go, so many people on this show, I would say over 50% of them list you as an influencer in their life.
Oh, that's fantastic. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
And so I'm sure we're all dying to know. Okay, let's see where this rabbit trail goes. Is like, who do you go to for your influence? Either in the Midwest or even worldwide.
Oh man. So personally, obviously, my number one is my wife,
Yeah.
and close behind are my two kids. It's what's interesting is how I watch my kids and their content consuming habits and how that shapes the business.
Yeah.
By the way, Matthew Patrick, which is all over the book because I talk about him. He's on the cover of Chief Content Officer magazine, built Game Theory, 4.8 million subscribers. I found about Matthew Patrick from my kids. They were watching his show. They were 11 and 12 at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who is this guy? He's talking about subscriber burn and he's got 3 million subscribers. And so it's interesting from that standpoint. I had him at Penton Media. I had a mentor. He was my boss, Jim McDermott. I still go to him. I just saw him today.
Awesome.
I still rely on him. He taught me the basics of what it means to be a content marketer. Don Schultz, the founder of Integrated Marketing, one of the greatest people on the planet, a gentleman and a scholar, but smarter, way ahead of anybody else.
Yeah.
In his time. Kirk Shavitz, who's CEO of Story Worldwide, a brilliant man, been in the industry for 40 years. And then from a okay, who's the influencers out there in the industry? I get Seth Godin.
Yeah.
I like the motivational side of that because I always look for, as an entrepreneur, I want to be motivated, and usually Seth has something I can read really quickly and be motivated. Jay Baer, I absolutely think Jay is so incredibly smart. He's so much smarter than I am. And because he's on the customer service thing now, and I always like to watch what he does because that's probably where the marketplace is going if he sniffs it out ahead of time. So I love what Ann Hanley is a rock goddess. What she's been able to do. I think it's fascinating.
She's so friendly too. I don't even understand how she can monitor everything at all times.
I know she's so it's amazing how accessible these people are to. It blows me away on how busy we're all busy, but we make time for what's important. So I think that I look for new ones all the time. There's just so much information out there. And it's the ones that have really built the audience that get my attention.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. John Lee Dumas is another one. Entrepreneur on Fire is fantastic. Yeah. John Loomer, Advanced Facebook Practices. I think what these people have done to build a business is inspiring. It keeps me going, and they've built out their own special businesses.
Yeah, I love everyone that you've listed. They're definitely. They're amazing at what they do. Jay Baer, and he's like the lion in our industry. He's out and he doesn't care what anyone thinks, and he'll take on anyone, and he just pulls out the camera and does a Jay today when he's pissed or when he's happy or whatever it is. And I love that vulnerability that he has. And then
that's what's so important about that. Just not to get sidetracked, but it's point of view.
Yeah,
Marcus Sheridan does this really well too. He talks about it all the time too. So much content is vanilla content out there.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the industry leader, you've got to take a stand. Now, I can do that a little bit better because I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I can call BS when I want to call it. And people then look to me and say, Joe, what's your take on this? And I will be completely honest, and it's only going to help the business. Yeah. A lot of businesses don't do that. They want to, we don't want to make anybody upset. You know what? You don't want to be vanilla in the middle. You want to be on an end because that's where you get that loyalty from an audience. And if your content, I write blog posts about this all the time. If your content is for everybody, it's for nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
I truly believe that. Focus on that niche area, and so it's okay to make some people upset or think. And Jay does that better than anybody.
Yeah, and the other one, Ann Handley. I mean, when I first read her book, I threw a tweet out there, and in 30 seconds she responded, and that was the first time I've ever interacted with somebody I had, who is New York Times bestseller. And every time she's just there and likes, my post and on Instagram, it's just how do you have the time?
Isn't that something? That's actually one of my favorite things. Like when somebody will tweet, they'll say, and I'm so honored by it. They'll say, "Oh, I just read at Joe Pulizzi's Epic Content Marketing." And they'll show like a picture of the book, and it's all you got markings over it and whatever. When they get that specific, I almost always respond, and I'll say, "Oh," and I'll try to do something personal. And I just love seeing them favorite it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The tweet, and I'm just like, or you made my day or whatever like that. And I'm just thinking, hey, I'm just a regular guy.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to make a living just like you are. The fact that you got value out of my book, I think it's as cool as you think me responding to you is cool.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
I tell everybody, if you want to have that feeling, write a book, put it out there, and then somebody's going to come up to you and ask you to sign it. And it's like, really? You know, you want me to, it's
the first time I'm like, I don't want to. I think I said the first time was, wait, you might want to resell this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't want to hurt the opportunity for you to resell it.
Let me sign it on the inside cover in the corner.
Exactly.
You can just rip it off. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out to the show. And
Man, Jeff, this is fun.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely see you next month at Content Marketing World. I'm the pre-workshop and the post-workshop and the whole time there. So.
Oh, can I ask you which pre-workshop you're going to?
I think it's Robert's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with
No.
content creation management. He's built that practice area. And that's
and then on the
phenomenal.
post workshop, I'm doing the Content Inc. thing. So
right.
Yeah.
I'm doing my Content Inc. Talk there.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
And then it will go right into Q&A with Brian Clark at Copybloggers.
And that's going to be awesome because I love his new podcast network and everything they've done there and how all the shows have shown up in the top of the list on iTunes immediately. It's like, man, I'm so jealous.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
I know. I like, because we struggle with our two podcasts. I mean, two podcasts, nothing wrong with that. But the fact that he launches like 14 at the same time and like dominates the board, I'm like, I hate you.
Exactly.
Like, that's terrible.
He's got
You're making us look bad, Brian.
I know. And we know the model. We know that to scale this, you need more people and more faces in front. That's how the blog, that's how CMI blog works. That's how everything works. But when podcasting, it's just so personal. It's like, I don't want to give that up. But you see it. You see everyone do these networks and grow up huge. You're like, all right, I'm going to have to do that soon enough.
Although there's something, we're going to focus on the two that we have for a while and just keep building the audience there. I think we've got something with those two. So, you know what? Brian can have the network. Well, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of work. We're going to focus our attention somewhere else.
You guys have the content coming out in text form, and people love that. He's selling a whole platform for podcasting, so it just makes sense for him to scale.
It does, yeah,
and
absolutely.
You guys, the quality of the the P&R show is just so high, and it's so rich. And every Tuesday morning, 6 a.m., it better be there. I'm mad on the way to work.
Thanks, man. That is awesome. Yeah. That's great to hear. It's funny how that started as just a phone conversation, and we said, hey, next week let's record that.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. So it's not all like long-term planning strategy. Some things are experiments.
Everything should be experiments.
So. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Joe.
Anytime, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you.